2023 was an exciting year for GD, to say the least. More people are playing and creating than ever, we received some fantastic levels that are on screen now, and the year was just rounded out with the most significant update the game's ever received. With such enormous changes though, this is the last year of GD levels as we know them. The limitations of the 2.1 editor have been the norm for years now, and our viewpoints towards creation have developed around a fixed and specific set of tools, all of which was blown wide open with 2.2. So I figured, as a send-off to the kinds of levels that may soon be seen as old and outdated, even dismissed by the larger community, I could talk about my favorite one this year. Over the summer, Effect Creator Audiovisual hosted a creator contest for unique levels, which had to have a name and use a song no other GD level had ever used before. I've been a bit disappointed by some of the bigger creator contests in recent years, but this one produced some excellent results. The imposed song and object limitations led to some really creative entries, and I enjoyed nearly all the levels that placed in the top 10. But one of those levels caught my eye above all others, a level with such stark and unique theming that I had to play it for myself. Months later, I've beaten it many times, and it continues to resonate with me deeply, among others. It's a beautifully chilling level. In fact, it may be the coldest this game has ever felt. This is minus 15,327 degrees. This level's creator, RandomEGD, manages to twist the simple theme of sheer cold into an incredibly convincing story. From the first step into this place, everything is frozen over, from the spikes to the blocks to the portals. You get the sense that there's been an immeasurable amount of time since anything last changed here. There are a variety of structures and environments when you look closely, from industrial-like chambers near the beginning to the more natural mountains further in, but they've all been homogenized under the tint of an icy blue. This color scheme remains fairly static, and anything more vibrant is filtered out over the course of the level, emphasizing how close to absolute zero you really are. There's hardly any motion in this frigid, desolate landscape, aside from the refractions of the ice. In fact, there exists no life at all except for the player, turning the journey into one of perseverance and struggle as you try to outlast the cold. That journey is matched perfectly with the unique song chosen for this level, Midnight's Ocean's Sea Quest. The song's two central components are a lone ringing melody and a low bass line, represented in the level respectively by the glittering ice blocks and the lifeless depths you traverse. The song adds more elements as the outcome of this cryogenic adventure becomes clear, until the level ends in a somber crescendo. All of the elements I've mentioned so far don't only serve a general progression. There is a story here, and a wonderfully tragic one at that. I find this story so impressive partially because it uses just 3 lines of text, letting the visuals give the rest of the context. It's contained very well within the game's medium, which is something other, more text-heavy levels struggle with. The first line of text appears a while into the level, after the player has passed plenty of frozen decay and seen what's become of everything else that remains here too long. It's too cold. If it wasn't obvious before, this line tells you that it's no longer sustainable to be here. It adds a sense of urgency. Your expedition has become an escape. After you try to escape, you fall into snow and are transported into the dream, the second line of text. Here, the color of ice finally vanishes, replaced by a pleasant bluish purple. With the abundance of stars passing you by in the background and foreground, it seems you've reached the sky and left the cold depths behind you for good. But then everything fades back into that familiar shade of light blue, and the player suddenly dissolves into an icy cube. In comes the last line, all dreams end somewhere. In reality, the player never escapes the cold. They fall into the snow and can't go on any longer. Just like the rest of this world, they go numb and freeze over. It's quite a dark ending for a GD level, but it's fantastically bold, and Randomly communicates it in a very pure way. When ignoring the story, this level's decoration may be easily overlooked compared to some of the community's more action-packed favorites from 2023, but it's pretty clear to me that a lot of care was put into designing each part. I've already mentioned how well the pulsing blocks represent each note in the song's main melody, but the details go further than that. Color banding is used in the first part to make these crystal-like set pieces that sync with the eerie buzzing in the background. In some parts you can see things frozen in the ice which used to be full of life, like the worm in the cube in the cryo chamber, or beings resembling sea monsters, mouths still wide open. And icicles hang off every structure, an original design that gives gravity to the permanence of this place. The way this particular detail affects the gameplay is one of my favorite things about the level. These frozen, non-functional portals in the first wave section may seem inconsequential, but they foreshadow the level's climax, in which the last dash orb that would propel you high enough to break free has frozen over. leaving you plummeting back into the abyss. All of these features give the level just as much character as its story. On the topic of gameplay, its enjoyability is not usually something that concerns me when thinking about levels in the bigger picture, but I do want to talk about it here. Unsurprisingly, I found this level pretty fun. Each part flowed well into the next, and it got very consistent with a little practice. It is unbalanced though, with the middle being harder than the rest, specifically the cube sections halfway through. As far as I can tell, this is the main reason that despite being sent more than once, the level hasn't been rated, something the creator has been very outspoken about wanting. Personally, I think the gameplay is more learny than difficult, and it aligns well with the direction the level takes. But when recording for this video, a few awkward invisible pink pads had been added to the cube part that weren't there the first time I played it, presumably to rebalance the level in hopes of a rate. This doesn't really make the part worse, but I wish Randomy had reworked the gameplay or structuring instead of just making some jumps inconspicuously auto, which hardly even nerfs the part overall. In any case, it's unfortunate that the level was neutered a bit just to satisfy some standard, and I always worry about lesser known creators compromising in their levels to adhere to an arbitrary system, even if it was pretty minimal in this case. I implore creators in this position to stick to your authentic vision and try not to fix your level this way, or at least try to make it more natural if you do. Regardless, I truly love minus 15,327 degrees, and it represents to me the heights of what level creation can be used for, at least in a conventional sense. I would argue that the values it holds in design and concept, simple yet full of charm and meaning, are aligned more with earlier years of this game's history, particularly in the late 2.0 to early 2.1 era. As we enter an update that permanently changes how we create, I sometimes wonder if these ideas, which make GD unique to me as a form of expression, will largely be abandoned. But at the end of the day, I believe creators can combine them with all the new features and possibilities, breaking boundaries while continuing to display the special traits only levels can harness. I hope I was able to show through this level why these traits are so essential to me. It's a great experience through and through, so definitely go play it now if you haven't already. I might make more videos like this down the line, but for now, thank you for watching.